Imagine this, all in capital letters. Sources inside the Mueller investigation leaked the entire Mueller report, unredacted, to outspoken Harlem preacher James David Manning, the Manning Report. And a preview of what's in the report is that the report contains verified info on Donald J. Trump's cocaine use and homosexual info on Vladimir Putin. Now, it's a hypothesis, and I ask you to use your, if you will, newsworthy journalism, if you will, news junkie imagination, that let's say that the people who worked on the Mueller investigation are actually ticked off at the fact that their hard work, 22 months of very hard work, working for our sovereign and great nation of America to protect its sovereignty, its political process, and the risk and the risk of life and limb, not going to birthday parties because they had to be on assignment, not being able to be with their wives and children because of the assignment, to be able to bring this report for the protection and the uplift of America. They worked very hard to bring this report of information of what has happened in our nation over the past few years with the most recent election and the illegal president, Tribulation Trump. And the information is passed on to one man of all people in America who can make a decision as to whether or not that information will ever see the light of day. And it now becomes apparent that that one man, in the person of Bill Barr, has made the decision that all that hard work by investigators, by lawyers, by people who actually, some women actually had to almost get in bed with people to get information. They had to at least walk down the lane of a prostitute because they needed to either protect their lives or get the information. And Bill Barr, one man of all the people on planet Earth, of all the people in America, all people that ever lived in America, has made a decision that that information is not going to be dispensed to the American public, that he's going to put it in a folder someplace and it will never be seen nor heard of, and he'll use everything within his powers as the Attorney General to make sure that does not happen. And these people who risked their lives, these investigators, these lawyers who gave up large sums of money, these lawyers who toiled at getting this information, are now seeing that all their work is being stopped by one man whose methods, whose plans, whose ideas are more wicked than the people that he investigated. That the man who cloaks for and covers up all the untoward things that they discovered and he has read and that has been documented that they discovered, he has covered it up. So what these investigators have done, they decided, rather than sending this to George Stephanopoulos or to Meet the Press or to any of the other prime time, if you will, news venues, they decided that it might stir the world to send it to the outspoken Harlem preacher James David Manning, the preacher who came to national and international promise consistently for nearly 10 years of his rants against Obama, his denial of Obama's presidency, and a number of other things that were just accomplished by him in a church on 123rd Street in Harlem, that the investigators decided to send it to, not to 60 Minutes, but to the Manning Report, and that Manning would have full access to complete undocumented report that many of the investigators stole away from themselves for their personal protection. They've got the reports. There's at least 150 of those reports out there now in the ionosphere of people's personal possessions. And they sent it to the good James David Manning. What do you think about that? Well, there are a couple of things. Let me help you think about it. Number one is that I'm making that appeal. I know that the reports are there. And I tried to lay out the background of the people who sacrificed to bring that report, who went into dangerous circumstances, who sacrificed their children's birthday parties to be on assignment. And now to find that one man makes the decision to put all other Americans and our entire political process and our Constitution at risk. One man. One man, of course, supported by a group of other villains and bloodthirsty bloodsuckers. But this one man makes the decision to put all of Americans' posterity and all of its history and all of its benefit at risk by saying the American people do not have the right to know what happened to all of them by one individual by the name of Tribulation Trump, or you may call him Donald J. Trump. So these people said, no, this cannot be. And then they said, well, we don't know if we can send it to 60 Minutes. We don't know if we can send it because 60 Minutes may be under some sort of a threat from the White House, under some sort of threat from their advertisers who are supportive of this wicked thing that's come upon America with the Russian collusion, obstruction of justice, and a ton of other things that have gone on. We don't know if we can trust 60 Minutes. We don't know if we can trust Meet the Press. We don't know if we could trust Good Morning America. We don't know if we could trust any of these news venues that they will actually present the information. They may shortstop some of the information as well. But we know that James David Manning has already, in his own investigation and his own observance of what is going on with Tribulation Trump, with Obama, with America, with white folk, with black folk, with racism, that James David Manning has already told you what's in the report before Mueller wrote the report. If you go back and listen to all of his Manning report episodes, if you listen to much of what he taught with Obama, illegal presidency, if you look at it, what Manning taught in his meeting with Donald Trump, his understanding of Michael Cohen, his living in New York, his understanding of the Central Park Five, his working with Donald Trump, his working on the Trump campaign, writing the song with Cyber LaFleur, of getting on the Trump train, all of that Manning has already said. What's in the report? All you got to do is just put together all the episodes. And so they have decided as a group to send a complete unredacted report to Manning because he already knows what's in it. It's just a verification of the things that he's said in terms that has made him perhaps the most consistent, if you will, integral, if you must, news reporter in America today. And so the report's been released to him and he's got it. And he not only has got it, but several people of understanding of secrecy, understanding of protection have come alongside to aid him in the process of guarding this report and getting it all out. That is, imagine that being the case. Well, what I'm doing, I'm soliciting that those who have lost their hope that America, that anybody in the news business in America will actually give the full report, that anybody in Congress, that no one in Congress, because everybody's got skeletons in the closet, everybody owes somebody else money, everybody else has got sexual secrets that they're hiding, everybody's got something that they don't want to be put on the news, everybody's got something to hide except me and my monkey. And so therefore, the report goes to Manning for his discretion. The one thing we know about Manning is that Manning is going to come right down Main Street and tell it just like it is. But it hasn't happened. I don't have the report. No, I don't. But I'm soliciting for the report. If there's anybody out there, and I need you to spread the word. Let's say, for instance, you are equally ticked off. Let's say you are current enough, you are swift enough, to use a word from the street, smart enough, to use another word from the university, to recognize that people put their lives at risk. And because we don't know, or we've not been able to learn what's in the report, we don't know what's threatening us right now. We don't know if there's a communist takeover. We don't know. Because the people we set out to investigate have written the investigative report, and we don't know if our lives are in danger of a political grid or an electric grid shutdown. We don't know. We don't know because one man, Bill Barr, has decided that we ain't gonna never know. He has taken it upon himself to be God of the Mueller report. He's taken it upon himself to be God of our democracy. Bill Barr has taken it upon himself to be God of our political process, to be God of our future, to be the God of what we know, to be the God of what we can defend ourselves. Bill Barr has taken it upon himself to be God over America and its posterity and all of its future and all of its. Bill Barr has taken it upon himself to be God with a small g, Mike. Yes. And so the people who are involved in this process says, we cannot let this stand. Who can we trust? We can only trust Manning, a fearless reporter. Manning, a courageous reporter. Manning, who marched against Obama. Manning, who has stood up in all of Black Harlem and said Obama wasn't black because they had a white mama. Manning, who we can trust. Manning, who is fearless, who is courageous, who is brilliant, who is erudite. Manning, who is wise. Manning, who is well. Manning, we've decided to turn the responsibility of the salvation of our nation over to Manning and the Manning Report and the people that support him there at the ATLAH World Missionary Church. And we decided also to give Harlem, to give the very people that Tribulation Trump hates with a hatred that is beyond hatred, black and brown people, Tribulation Trump hates. So to really get his goat is to give it to a black man who lives in Black Harlem, and to give Harlem an opportunity to save the rest of the world. The report has been sent to Harlem, and out of Harlem will come the report to save the rest of the world, to save the rest of America. Harlem to the rescue. Harlem to the rescue of our republic. Harlem to the rescue of our democratic process. Harlem to the rescue of all people, of all kindreds, of all tongues here in America. Harlem to the rescue. And that's the decision that they've made. And the report has now been sent to the Honorable James David Manning. Isn't that wonderful? Well, we give God the praise. And to be sure, Manning can't be bribed. Manning can't be bought. Manning said his help comes from the Lord. His source comes from the Lord. Nobody can bribe him. Nobody can buy him. But he believes in Almighty God as his source. And so we believe that the report is in the safest hands possible. And he will upend Bill Barr and all others that are trying to keep this information. And just one final thing, and then I promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. There's a lot of information in the report that demonstrates there was collusion to argue whether or not it rose to the level of a criminal statement. That decision could be argued one way or the other. There's a ton of information of obstruction and justice that happened right out in plain sight over the past 2.5 years. All Americans have seen, and people around the world have seen, the absolute obstruction of justice that have happened right before your very eyes in plain sight. And there's other information that's in the report that would be damaging or embarrassing to Tribulation Trump and a ton of other people. But the big secret of the report that Manning has received is that the report, in its in-depth of questioning a number of people around Tribulation Trump that have been around him for years, that the investigators stumble upon drug use, the investigators stumble upon drug sales, the investigators stumble upon the apparent heavy use of cocaine by Tribulation Trump. It was because many of the people that came to talk to Robert Mueller, whose names have not been publicized, were involved in the drug trade, drug use, and became actual suppliers of drugs, the drug cocaine for Tribulation Trump, and has done so for a goodly number of years. A lot of people did what they said in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, dropped the dime on Tribulation Trump. Many people there'll be verification of people who have been released from prison, from federal prisons, who had long drug sentences have been released, have had their sentence commuted by not by bar, but by the Justice Department, because they were able to give up demonstrated, verified, documented information that they were Tribulation Trump's drug supplier, and they're now free out on the street. That information is also in the report. But not just that information about Tribulation Trump's deep cocaine use, his habit of use of cocaine. But there's also information in there as Russia's dropped the dime on Vladimir Putin, that many people, Americans included, homosexuals, LGBTQ people, dropped the dime that they have actually slept in bed with Vladimir Putin. That Vladimir Putin is a sensual man lover. That Vladimir Putin is a premier homosexual. That Vladimir Putin, if you've seen him on that white horse, that it is reported that Vladimir Putin with no shirt on, with that white horse, that Vladimir Putin is known in the trenches of the LGBTQ people as Joan of Arc. They don't call him Vladimir when they have their sexual enterprises. They call him Joan of Arc. That Vladimir Putin is the largest homosexual in all of homosexual Russia. And a number of homosexuals that have had intercourse with Vladimir Putin have, and that too is in the report. That too. And that's what Bill Barr wants to redact. That's what Bill Barr wants to hide. The cocaine, the homosexual, not to mention the abuse of America and its political system. All that's in the report. But the one thing they can be sure of, that Manning will make sure that it sees the light of day. I don't have the report. I just told you what's in it. Now, there are a couple of things. One is that I can actually receive the report. You can talk to people, spread the word to get the report to me. And I will faithfully execute on behalf of all American people that we should not be put at risk, that we should not be hoodwinked, that we should not be sold down the river by one man, Bill Barr. Of course, he got a lot of cohorts and people that support him. So spread the word. Find those persons that have those copies of that report in their personal valises and tell them, send it to Manning. And we'll set up a meeting whereby it may be had and all secrecy will be kept. But the other thing is that I've already told you what's in the report. I've told you. And you have seen yourself. You know what's in the report with respect to the collusion, the obstruction of justice, and the power that Vladimir Putin has over Tribulation Trump. It's not just financial, it's sexual. And it isn't just sexual, it's drug use, rampant drug use. Scarface. Tony in Scarface has got nothing on sniffing cocaine the way Donald Trump sniffs cocaine in Trump Tower and down at Mar-a-Lago and other places where he has been. And when he travels. You know, Reggie Love used to carry Obama's cigarettes. Y'all remember Reggie Love and Obama? Reggie Love used to carry Obama's cigarettes. He smoked Newports. He still does. Reggie got tired of being Obama's bag man, carrying his cigarettes with him everywhere, and left Obama. Broke Obama's heart when Reggie Love left him. But Omarosa used to carry Trump's cocaine everywhere he went. And so did Michael Cohen carry Trump's cocaine. And a number of other sodomites carried Trump's cocaine. Okay. All right. You get the idea. Spread the word, everybody. I'm waiting on a phone call. I got a call from the CIA on Obama and Columbia University. I'm waiting on a phone call. Get that report to the Manning report and save America. It's your duty. If you know the persons with the report, it's your duty. And if you don't know the person with the report, it's your duty to seek out. It's your duty, if you have the opportunity, it's your duty to spread this word. Don't let this word return void. Spread this word. Put it everywhere. Send it to the back of send it to the email and the Twitter address on the back of an aspirin bottle. Spread the word. Spread the word. Let's get the report. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. Peace out.
You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning. The news behind the headlines.
This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.